everyone. Welcome to LilyTube, where we dive deep into relationship topics that matter. If you love exploring ways to strengthen your connections, be sure to like this video and hit the subscribe button. Today, we're tackling one of the most talked about concepts in modern relationships, boundaries. And let me warn you, Jeff has some very strong feelings about this one.
That's right, Cathy. I've been known to stir the pot on this topic. But hey, it's all about getting us to think critically, right? And if you, our friends and viewers, don't agree with me, that's okay. Just don't set a boundary against me. But seriously, boundaries are one of those buzzwords that everyone loves to throw around, and I'm here to challenge some ideas about that, especially the idea that they are the key to a healthy relationship.
And I'm here to make sure we look at both sides of the subject, because while Jeff makes some great points that are definitely worth consideration, I also believe that boundaries can play an important role in protecting our mental health and stability.
So Cathy, before we get into debating and discussing the subject of boundaries, I'd like to make a couple of clarifications so people understand what we're actually talking about. First, there's the traditional notion of boundaries, what we might call social or cultural norms. For instance, if I start flirting with another person's spouse at a church or business event, that can be seen as crossing a line. Or let's say someone picks up your cell phone and starts looking through it. That's a clear boundary violation. In most of America, disciplining someone else's child without permission is another example of a boundary violation. These traditional boundaries are deeply rooted in respecting what belongs to whom, and they're essential for the functioning of our society.
That makes sense, Jeff. These kinds of boundaries help us navigate shared spaces and interactions. But I bet these norms vary across cultures, don't they?
Absolutely. As you know, I spent time in the Samoan Islands. There's a delightful example of this in a book from Faye Calkins, a woman I actually met once, called My Samoan Chief, where she humorously shares her challenges adjusting to Samoan society. And in Samoa, the boundaries around personal property and the nuclear family are much more casual. What felt invasive to her as an American was normal to them. So it's fascinating to see how boundaries shift across cultures. But regardless of the specifics, socially defined boundaries are crucial for maintaining order and letting us know what is expected of us by the people around us.
When you lived in Samoa, didn't someone take off with your baby?
Oh yeah, took off with our baby and walked off into the jungle one time.
And were you worried?
I was not, but my brother who was with us looked at me like, "What are you doing?"
Is that because you had become accustomed to their social norms?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the first day we were in Samoa, somebody took our baby in the grocery store and walked off. And I turned to the guy we were with and said, "Is this okay?" And he says, "I know that lady. She does that for everyone who walks in here with a baby."
In addition to social boundaries, we also have personal boundaries, the kind we hear about in self-help books and therapy sessions. This is where things get more individually nuanced, right?
Exactly. The second type of boundaries comes from Dr. Henry Cloud's famous book of the same name. He also uses the metaphor of property lines, but applies it to personal relationships. The idea is about defining and defending what is mine. My emotions, my time, my body. A common misconception is that setting boundaries is about controlling other people. In fact, I see it used that way more often than not. But Dr. Cloud is clear, it's really about controlling your own actions to protect yourself. For example, if a spouse yells and screams, instead of trying to stop them, you might simply take the kids and go to a relative's house to safeguard your own well-being and the kids.
That is such an important distinction. Boundaries shouldn't be about dictating someone else's behavior, but rather about making choices to protect yourself. I totally agree with that. But I know, Jeff, that you have some reservations about how boundaries play out in marriage.
Right. Here's the tricky part. Marriage isn't like other relationships. if my wife sets a boundary that I can't sleep in the same bed with her, which thankfully you haven't, that would create a unique problem. Unlike other relationships where I don't expect or even want that level of intimacy, marriage comes with some unspoken norms and expectations that are deeply personal. Marital intimacy and family life are like blending two microcultures, and imposing boundaries can sometimes disrupt that delicate balance or enmeshing of cultures.
So what's the alternative, Jeff? Because I think boundaries still play an important role, especially in situations where one partner feels unsafe or unheard.
Well, how does it go in marriage and family life when you say to a spouse, I need to set a boundary for you because your behavior is not acceptable to me? There's an inevitable overtone of condescension in that kind of boundary setting. In some cases where there is abuse occurring, it might be necessary or unavoidable. But in general, healthy relationships, I believe we need to think more about persuading each other and striving for agreements rather than just one person unilaterally drawing boundaries and imposing consequences without consulting the spouse.
That's a great point, Jeff. Agreements are about mutual understanding and respect. But let's not forget that boundaries can sometimes be a stepping stone toward building that collaboration. For instance, if someone is recovering from a toxic relationship, they might need to set boundaries that help them feel safe while they are learning to trust again.
Here's my concern. Boundaries can easily create a me versus you dynamic, where you see me as a threat to your safety. And it might be because of a past relationship. But they focus on protecting our personal turf and finding safety through keeping the other person at a distance instead of building bridges. They're about protecting ourselves from someone we are trying to create intimacy with. And when that happens in marriage, it damages intimacy instead of fostering it. For example, if one spouse decides unilaterally that certain friends are off limits, Cathy, you can't talk to so-and-so, then, or demands that certain chores be done in a particular specific way, that's not a boundary, it's a power grab. Agreements, on the other hand, prioritize teamwork and intimacy and honor each person's agency and dignity.
I agree that agreements are the gold standard. But boundaries can still have a place, especially when one partner feels overwhelmed or needs time to process emotions. It's all about how they are used. Boundaries are meant to protect, not control. And when possible, they evolve into agreements ideally.
I would add that if boundaries are necessary, the goal should always be to move from boundaries to mutual agreements. Whether you're deciding how to handle finances, parenting styles, or even something as simple as whether you want the right to access each other's cell phones or email accounts. Agreements allow both partners to feel heard and respected.
So maybe the key takeaway here is balance. Boundaries are a tool, not a solution. They're not meant to divide, but to create space for understanding. And when we're ready, we can build something stronger through agreements.
Well said, Cathy. So let's challenge our viewers. Think about the boundaries in your relationships. Are they creating connection or division? And how can you work toward agreements that honor both you and your partner?
Drop your thoughts in the comments. We would love to hear your take on this. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more conversations like this.
Because relationships aren't about protecting your space or your stuff, they're about sharing it.
Until next time, remember it's always a great time for more love in your life and agreements in your relationships.
If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, and share on social media. This video is sponsored by New Calm, a cool app that will support you in living your best life. Are you feeling stressed? No matter what your day throws at you, in just a few minutes, you can feel recharged, centered, and ready to go. Try it for yourself and feel the difference. Click the link in our video description.
Thanks for joining us for another week on LilyTube. If you enjoy what you see, support us by liking, commenting, and sharing your favorite videos with others who could benefit.
As single life and relationship coaches, our mission is to help single adults intentionally heal from loss to create a happy life and healthy relationships. Keep coming back and we'll keep you encouraged. Each week, we provide new and refreshing perspectives on the challenges and opportunities of mid-single life.
If you'd like to immerse yourself deeper into your own personal development and relationship journey, visit our website at loveinlateryears.com for even more resources. Don't take on divorce recovery and other relationship loss and single life alone. We are here for you.